So we'll move on to the next method, net asset valuation method. So the net asset method provides a lower limit for a company's value. So when you apply this method, you will get a lower limit of a company or the minimum worth of a company. So this gives you the minimum worth or minimum value of a company. So the formula works like this: NAV equals to total asset minus the goodwill and minus total external liabilities. So you take all the assets of your company, reduce goodwill. Why we reduce goodwill? Goodwill is a fictitious asset, so it is not an asset at all, and minus all the liability in your company. The resulting is the net asset value. So to find out this is the net asset value for the whole company. For the whole company, if you want to find it for per share, you use NAV per share. That is, take the NAV which was computed here and divided by the number of equity shares, you will get at the NAV per share value. So application, where can we use this method? See, this method is useful for companies which relies on the assets to run the business. Okay, what kind of an asset? Mostly it is like tangible assets. Okay, not intangible, tangible assets. For example, car manufacturing company or a mining company. Where it is not useful, this method is not useful for a service company such as a travel and ticketing agency or an education company or a software company, because for these companies the intangible assets are more. So we can't use the net asset valuation method. Even if you use, the value will be very absurd. Okay, so this method can be used for a company which relies heavily on the tangible assets. So we look at an example. So this is an example of Bajaj Auto. For example, take the total assets of the company, which is 2,928,929. So that comes to here. Then we have to check the goodwill, deduct the goodwill. So goodwill is not here. Usually you have to less the goodwill. Goodwill is not in this table, so we'll take it as 0. Total external liabilities. So total external liabilities comes as here. These two things add together, you would have got this number. Okay, so reduce both, you got your NAV. Okay, 223,4. You can also get that the same number by adding share capital and reserve. So if you just take these two numbers and add, you will get the same answer. Okay, so that's how this method works. So on what basis can we do asset valuation? Value attached to an individual asset may vary considerably depending on whether it is valued on a going concern or a breakup value. Okay, so you can use this method in various ways. For example, if it's a going concern, then the value based on NAV will be different. If you're going to use breakup assets, assume that the company is closed and all the assets are sold as an individual piece, then the assets are valued in a different way. So even if you use this method, uh, what the company is going to do creates a NAV value very differently. Okay, if it's a going concern, the NAV will be different. If it's going to be, the company is going to be closed and the assets are going to be sold, then the NAV will be different. Okay, so we'll look at like this. We can use the asset value based on the historical cost method, but this will not give you a realistic value of the assets because the asset might have been depreciated and amortized. Okay, so this value will be always very low. So we'll move on to the next method called as a realizable basis. In this method, the assumption is the assets are going to be sold either or the business as a whole is going to be broken up and then sold each asset on an individual basis. But this method is not such a good method to value a minority or a controlling shareholder, because he cannot sell the assets on an individual basis on his own. Only when the majority shareholder decides, that is like possible. So to value a minority shareholder's share, this is not a appropriate method. And also you shouldn't use this method for a going concern company. If a company is like going to be operated, then using this value is not an appropriate method. And third is the replacement method. So assuming that the business is going to be continued but based on a new set of asset. For example, we constructed a factory, and the factory was constructed a very long time ago, and it is like now worth only 100 crore. But to create a new factory in similar capacity and in similar operation will take 200 crore. So we can say that the company's value is between the 100 and 200 crore, because if you want to create a factory now, it's 200 crore of amount. So we should be like again, this method is very subjective. So intangible assets, including goodwill, should be excluded unless they have a market value. For example, patents, copyrights, which could be sold. Okay. So only when a intangible asset has a market value, it should be included. If it's going to be a fictitious asset, or if it's going to be intangible asset generated by the company, then those kinds of intangible assets should be ignored. Development expenditure, if shown in the financial statements, could also have a value which is related to the future rather than to the worth of the company's physical assets. Hence, it should be excluded. So, if there's going to be any development expenditure, then that value should also be excluded. So, NAV method is very applicable for to find a minimum value of a business. We've already discussed this. For asset stripping, if the assets are going to be sold on an individual basis, then this is useful. To value a property investment company, so if a company has a lot of properties, land, buildings, or mining, these companies, it's like very useful. And to value asset based companies such as mining, this is a very appropriate method. So what are the drawbacks of this method? NAV method actually ignores the following very important things. For example, it ignores a highly skilled workforce, highly motivated workforce, the strong management team, the superior products compared to competitors, the brand value. So all these things are like ignored. So the problem is it only takes the assets into account. That is the problem. So we'll see the actual implication of this problem. If you take this company, again it's a Bajaj company, the market value, the market says that the value of this company is 91,000 crore. But when we do the NAV value, it comes to 23,000 crore. So look at the difference. The market says the company is worth 91,000, and the NAV method says the company is what, 23,000. So the difference 91,000 crore minus 23,000 crore, look, comes to 68,000 crore. Okay, where is this difference? The difference here is because for the brand, it is for the product, it is for the future outlook. Okay, so none of these things are considered in the 23,000. The 23,000 is only for the asset, but for the company, as a running company, the market is giving it a value of 91,000. If you even check in reality, the value of, I think like 95% of the companies which are trading will have a more value than the NAV. Okay, so that is how NAV methods are. So we'll have a quiz. So this was asked in September 2016. The finance director of Rinco has been advised to calculate the NAV of the company. Which of the following formulae correctly calculates correctly the NAV of Rinco. Total asset less current liabilities. We are not considering the long-term liability in this formula, so this is wrong. So non-current asset plus net current asset. Again, we are not considering the long-term liabilities, so this is wrong. Non-current asset plus current asset minus total liabilities. So this considers the total liability. So total liability is current liability plus long-term liability. So this is the option. We'll check D also. Non-current asset less current asset. No, we should not be like lessing the current asset. We should be adding the current asset. So this is the right option. D is also wrong. So the answer should be C. The answer is C. So we have another question. Asset-based model is applicable for valuation for which of the following firms? An oil drilling company that is not operational and has not found oil in places where it drilled. That is, there is no future income and all. Okay, what is still there is only a machine, and that machine is also not like currently used. Yes, we can use the net asset value for this kind of a company because the only thing that they have is the driller. A software company that launches gadgets with cutting edge technology. So a software company has a lot of intangible assets. So for a company which has more intangible asset, net asset method is not a right method. A textile manufacturing company in a country that is experiencing high inflation. So this is not useful because in a high inflation country, the worth of money keeps going down and the value of machines and assets goes up. So it's very difficult to balance both and try to find out a value. So I think A should be the answer. So the answer is A. So we have another question. When valuing Bluebell Co. using asset-based valuation, which of the following statement is correct? An asset-based valuation would be useful for an asset stripping acquisition. Yes, we saw the exact word earlier. Bluebell's workforce can be valued as an intangible. Workforce can never be valued, and in NAV method, it can never be valued at all. So B is wrong. C. Asset-based valuation considers the present value of Bluebell's future income. This is not the right method. That method is called as DCF, discounted cash flow method. So C is again wrong. Replacement cost basis provides a deprival value for Bluebell Co. So deprival value means it is the most lowest value that can be arrived. Actually, it's not replacement. Replacement actually gives you a higher value. If you use replacement for NAV, it gives you a higher valuation. But if you use realizable, that gives you the low valuation for NAV method. So again, this is wrong. So the answer should be A. So we got the answer. So we'll be like discussing about net asset value method. So net asset value method equals to take the total asset of the company, so the balance sheet total, deduct the goodwill and deduct all total external liabilities. So total external liabilities will include both long-term liability as well as current liability. So deduct both. So once you have got the net asset value, what you can also find out the net asset value per share. So you take the NAV divided by the number of equity share, you will get NAV per share. So we will start from this problem. The following is an abridged version of the statement of financial position of Contractor Scope, an unquoted company. So this company is not trading in the market as at 30th April 2006. So it says the non-current asset, that is a book value, is 4,50,000. Net current assets is 1 lakh, and the company has $1 ordinary shares which are worth 2 lakh rupees. Reserves are 2 lakh 50. and loan notes are 1 lakh. So these are the balance sheet items, and they also tell you loan notes are redeemable at a 2% premium. So the loan notes can be redeemed at 2% premium. The current market value of freehold property exceeds by 30,000. So the freehold property would be in the non-current asset. So in the non-current asset, you can add another 30,000 because the value of the freehold property is exceeding the book value. Book value is this number 4,50,000. So the actual non-current asset value should be 4,80,000. All assets other than property are estimated to be realizable at their book value. So any other asset, any other asset is the net asset, net current assets that can be realized at the book value itself. He's asking you calculate what is the value of an 80% holding of ordinary shares on an asset basis. Okay, so on an asset basis is the asset based valuation method that he is asking. So we'll start. So we'll start with the non-current asset. So the non-current asset value is 4,50,000, which is existing there. That has to be added with another 30,000. So that comes to 4,80,000. So all other assets, we can take it as the current assets. The current assets is realized at their book value. So the total assets of the company, is 5,80,000. So we have to deduct all the total liabilities. So total liabilities refers to the current liability and the long-term liability. So here we have the loan. This is a long-term liability. So it is realizable. So it can be redeemed at a 2% premium. That's what they say here. So at a 2% premium. So if it's 100 is the book value, 2% is the premium. So we can redeem it at 1,02,000. So the total value comes to 4,78,000. So this is the NAV. The question asks you not the total NAV but a 80% holding. So 80% value based on NAV is equal to 4,78,000 into 80%. So we'll get the value. So we get 3,82,400. So that's about the value, and this is like represented in the dollar terms. So we have another problem here. The owners of private company wish to dispose of their entire investment in the company. The company has issued 1,000,000 0.5 nominal shares. The owners have made the following valuation of the company's assets and liabilities. The non-current asset at book value, it comes to 30 million. The current asset comes to 18 million. The non-current liabilities come to 12 million and current liabilities come to 10 million. So they say that the net realizable value of non-current assets, so this one, exceeds by 4 million. So it means that add another 4 million here. The current asset includes 2 million of accounts receivable, which are thought to be irrecoverable. So that value is not going to be realized. So you can deduct 2 million. What is the minimum price which the owner should accept? So whenever they ask you the minimum price, they are asking you the NAV value. Okay, so we'll start from this problem. Non-current asset value. So the non-current asset value is 30 million plus the 4, so that comes to 34 million. Then we'll add the current asset. The current asset comes to 18 million. From there we can deduct the 2 million which is not realizable, so that comes to 16. We'll deduct the non-current liability. So non-current liability comes to 12, that will deduct. Also we'll deduct the current liability. So we'll get the answer. So the total value comes to 28, but this NAV value is a total value. So the question asks you per share value. So what we have to do is we have to find out the total number of shares. So the number of shares in the company is, the company has 1 million worth of shares. So we'll take it that as a numerator, divided by each share is worth 0.5 of nominal value. So that means the company has 2 million of shares. So now we'll find out the NAV per share. So the NAV per share will be 28 million divided by 2 million shares. So that gives us 14 per share worth of NAV. So that is about this sum. We'll move on to the next sum.
You can reach me at my website wowacademics.com, or you can also see my Quora answers. I am active in LinkedIn and in Facebook page, so you can visit at these places. If you just type Shyam Prasad and Wow Academics, you will get all these links in Google search itself. And if you like this video, give a like, share to your friends, and if you feel that any points we have missed in this video, you can post it. We will try to give an answer to you in the comment section itself, or we'll also create another video for you. So thank you for watching our video.